Welcome! Welcome once more to a very special reading of Equestria Girl. Wait, what's Equestria? This is the I just had a tooth pulled, I'm still pretty high off dentist drugs and half my face is numb edition. It should be interesting. This is Chapter 3, Monday, Part 3, Liberated. I can't believe it, Sunset said as she left Fluttershy to be alone in the bathroom. Fluttershy was in the store Twilight had been in, also crying like Twilight had been. She'd been in the bathroom for a reason, and when Twilight had knocked her over, certain things happened. Certain wet, humiliating things. She thinks we were trying to rape her? It was hard to believe, but Sunset supposed she could see it. This wasn't the Twilight they'd known. That much was obvious. And if she thought that they'd attacked her, Sunset could only imagine the damage they'd done to this poor girl. Should she tell the others? Should she find this new Twilight and try to explain? Or should she tell Flash what had happened and why? She pulled out of the hallway and into an empty classroom. Sunset lifted her left hand. She'd grown her nails quite long and scratched her forehead. She scrunched her eyes closed and concentrated and thought about what she had to do. Calm down. Twilight had kept with her plan to stay hidden until the end of the day for the first hour. At that point she calmed dramatically, but still intended to leave this place forever. Eventually she grabbed one of the books and began to read. She didn't get very far into it, though. She couldn't read and keep a lookout at the same time. About another hour passed before she became immersed in the book and only peered away from it every 5 minutes or so, instead of every 5 seconds. It was some angsty teen romance novel about sparkling vampires. She loved it. Soon enough she hadn't looked away from the pages in a good however long it took to read 200 pages. Turning her eyes away from the book, they hurt for a moment as they refocused on anything not inches away from her face. Panic briefly set in, but it passed once she realized she hadn't been found. Standing up from the ground, her back cracked several times. She had the urge to stretch her arms up, and although it felt good to do so, she knew from experience that it could cause a slight blood rush after sitting for so long, and as good as those felt too, they occasionally made her pass out. Only ever happened once, but she couldn't risk it right now. Book still in hand, it had made a good weapon last time. She walked out of the aisle she'd been sitting in and scanned around the library. Either of the people who were here before weren't here anymore. There was one person here, but she was a younger girl, and though she didn't like to think like this, thoughts had been forced into Twilight's mind due to recent events. She could easily overpower this kid if she had to. Twilight looked around the room and quickly found the clock. It was already 1, and if she remembered right, that was the start of lunchtime for this school. Not that it actually mattered today since there were no classes. It was as good a time as any to get the hell out of here. To the principal's office, or just a payphone and call her parents to pick her up. This is exactly why she needed a phone. She casually made her way out from the bookshelves, not wanting to run until she had to. "Oh, hey, Twilight!" She flinched at her name. It was just that younger girl, though. She could take her. She gripped the book tightly. "You finished reading that book already? You were only near the start when I saw you before," the grey girl with blue glasses said, spinning in her seat to rest her chest on the back of it. You saw me reading?" And panic set back in that she'd been so unaware of what was happening around her. Twilight had a habit of getting so overly focused on something that sometimes happened. But she was still safe, even though this girl had seen her. She must not have been one of those people after all. She also knew her name, though. "Yeah, don't worry about it. I won't tell anyone you were reading that book. Let you in a little secret, Twilight?" she said, then leant over a chair a bit and whispered, "I'm totally on Team Edward." Twilight was confused for a moment. She then read the title of the book she'd been reading. "Oh wow, that's what I was reading?" She paused, flipping through the pages before adding, "It's actually not that bad. I think I actually liked it more than I would have if I knew what it was." She then paused and looked up at this girl in front of her once more, a little embarrassed for liking this book. Can I ask you a question?" "No, the second book isn't as good. And the third was just horrible. It doesn't start bad, but it really earned the reputation by the end," the girl said with a slight laugh. She never thought she'd be speaking with someone so renowned around the school about a book, especially after she'd just disappeared like that a few months ago. "It's not that, it's... How does everyone know who I am?" Twilight asked. "Why wouldn't they?" she simply replied. I don't even... Why would they? Twilight yelled back.
This is getting too serious. Kick her! Kick her in the head!
She thought to herself. Not a bad idea. Except for it was a horrible idea. Look, I don't know what everyone seems to know. Just telling me you know doesn't let me know. You know? No, she replied, not exactly following all those double negatives. You don't remember what happened at the fall formal last year? You are Twilight Sparkle, right? Yeah, but I've never been here before. I can't remember if I wasn't here. What happened, and why does everyone... I just want to be a nobody like before again. I don't want everyone staring at me. And she trailed off as the girl stood up. She gripped her book tightly again. That plan was looking better than it did before. The girl went over to a waist-high shelf and pulled out a book from the lower section. She brought it back and put it on the desk she'd been sitting at. Come have a look at this, she said, pulling out the seat next to her. Oh, and my name's Silverspoon. Guess you wouldn't know that if you're not the same Twilight. Actually, we didn't... I didn't really meet her either, she said with a bit of a laugh. You can call me Sil if you want. Twilight took a few hesitant steps towards Silverspoon until she saw it. That was a picture of her, dancing with the guy who kissed her. From there, she quickly sat down beside Sil and slid the book over to fully in front of her. Finding the pages that had mugshots of all the students with their names above the page, she eventually found, so his name's Brad. I think you mean Flash Sentry. Brad's the picture above that, Sil said as she pointed to the name below the picture, not above. Seems legit. You two were, Twilight and him were pretty close. Did you meet him? Yeah, I ran into him, and some girl named Sunset, I think, Twilight said before Silverspoon pulled the book back over to her, flipped a few pages and slid it back. She took a look at the new page and instantly recognized the girl in the photo. Yeah, that's her, and there was this pink-haired girl. Yellow skin, I think. I didn't see her, but she said she was yellow. Silverspoon coughed. Racist! And coughed again. Hey, she said it, not me, Twilight snapped. Sil just laughed though and did the same with the book she did before, flipping a few pages and placing it back in front of Twilight. Fluttershy? She looks familiar. It was more than just familiar from having briefly seen the back of her in the bathroom. Wait. She flicked back a page to Sunset and pulled her locker key out of her pocket. Oh god. Who is this girl? The mark on her skirt and the hilt of the key were identical. Twilight had not only gotten her locker, but Fluttershy had been one of the pictures on the locker door. Well, she's a demon. This isn't funny! I'm scared enough as it is! I got her old locker. I was ambushed by one of the 5 girls there were creepy pictures of in her locker, and apparently I have a doppelganger, and I bet you don't even believe me I'm not this other girl! Sure I do. It's not the craziest thing I've seen. Well, what is then? Well, I wasn't exactly joking when I said Sunset was a demon. Twilight's eye twitched. Long story short, Alpha Twilight shows up 3 days before the formal, gets the whole school for vote for her for princess at the formal, wins, something happens, I'm not sure what, Sunset turns into a demon, blows up the front of the school, mind controls everyone, tries to kill Alpha Twilight with some sort of spirit bomb. Twilight and Sil flicks through the book. These 5 turn into angels and exorcise the demon from her. Twilight and Flash dance, then she returns to her home planet through a big statue in front of the school. And you know what the weirdest part about it was? There was a talking dog. Freaky. Fuck yeah, one shot, yeah! I just read that in one take. Whew. What? So yeah, you having someone who looks like you and has the same name isn't exactly too surprising. How did this not be on every news station in the country? Well, officially, one of the students spiked the punch with an incredibly powerful hallucinogenic. But unofficially, we go to the coolest school ever! And that's chapter 3. There is one note, and that is basically saying that if you hadn't guessed, the book Twilight was reading was Twilight. And yes, that exists in this universe, unfortunately. There is another thing I'd like to add though. I am incredibly surprised I got that synopsis of the Equestria Girls movie done in one take. Seriously, I was expecting to screw that up so hard. If you're a little disappointed that I'm not slurring everything and screaming in pain from a tooth being ripped out and my face being numb, well, it doesn't exactly hurt, and the whole numbness kind of wore off in the first 2 minutes, because it had been like 4 hours since I got the drug put in it. Also, the drug wasn't really drugged, it was just painkiller drug. Like, numb, not hallucinogenics. We go to the cool school. I don't even. Why am I recording this? The end. It was as good a time as any to. But fuck me. And I bet you don't even believe me, I'm not this other girl! What does my voice even sound like by the end of that?